Good afternoon, everyone. Very new students. Okay, students who have joined in now for the session, who have not attended previous sessions, you may find it difficult. So, people who are joining in now, request you to kindly go through the previous sessions. I am seeing a few new students. Okay. So, we were discussing on the chapter of input tax credit. We will continue reading the input tax credit and then proceed further. So with respect to previous session, we had just set the base or just the basics of input tax credit. Today we'll go into the provisions of input tax credit and understand that what are all the conditions. Okay. What are all the conditions to claim the credit? What are all the restrictions? So there are clear-cut provisions. You will have to understand that and then we can proceed further. Okay. So input tax credit, what we understood, how do we claim the credit? That we understood that yes, when you make any sale, you collect taxes from your customer. That tax can get reduced from the taxes what you paid to the vendor, and the balance is either GST payable or there is a GST credit. Okay. Understanding input tax credit to various examples, we understood what happened before GST came in, because there was input tax credit before GST also, but it was not interlinked or interconnected. SENVAT and VAT was separate. Credit of SENVAT cannot be claimed by a VAT dealer, and credit of VAT was not offset with SENVAT sales. So there was a distinction or a kind of divorce between SENVAT and VAT. Then we understood various the features of input tax credit. This is very important, which we also understood that any input which is used for business purposes and which is used for taxable purposes, only that you can claim the credit. But if you use for non-business purposes and for non-taxable supplies, their input tax credit will be restricted and you cannot claim the credit. Okay. This is clear. Next, we understood various definitions, the various definitions under GST, which is relevant with respect to input tax credit. My screen is visible, right? I am not able to see it in my own screen. Okay, it's visible. Nice. Okay, so then we understood the various definitions. What is goods? What is capital goods? Capital goods means goods, the value of which is capitalized in the books of accounts and which is used or intended to be used in the course or furtherance of business. Then we understood what is exempt supply. Exempt supply means supply of any goods or services which attracts nil rate of tax or which may be wholly exempt from tax under Section 11 of the CGST Act or under 6 of the IGST Act, and it includes non-taxable supply also. And input shall mean any goods other than capital goods which is used or intended to be used by the supplier in the course or furtherance of business. These definition of inputs and input services is important because when we read the chapter of input tax credit, we will refer to these terms very often. So when we say inputs, it would mean as goods. When we say input services, it would mean that input claimed on the services. Just inputs means on the goods. And when you say input tax credit means tax of everything, of goods, services, and capital goods. Everything put together is called as input tax credit. Before that, input tax also has been defined. Input tax in relation to registered person means the central tax, state tax, integrated tax, or union territory tax. So when you say input tax credit, it is not that you can only claim the credit of central tax. You can claim credit of everything, if the supplier has charged you UTGST and IGST, you can claim the credit. And if the supplier has charged you UTGST and CGST, even then you can claim the credit. Am I saying the right thing? Did you hear? Yes, Hardik. No, the UTGST and CGST cannot be offset off. UTGST and SGST cannot, CGST cannot. Fine, but my sentence, I will repeat my sentence. Please identify what is the error in my sentence. When a supplier is charging you UTGST and IGST, you can claim the credit. And you can also claim a credit when supplier is charging you UTGST and CGST. So what is the mistake in my sentence? Correct. Anirudh has given a correct answer. Even Khushi. Yes, Ajay Surya, UTGST is correct. So when I am charging UTGST, it will not be along with IGST. It will be UTGST and CGST. Supplier cannot charge both the UTGST and IGST. If he is charging IGST, if it is an interstate supply, then the charge will be only IGST. But if it is intrastate supply within a same union territory, then he will charge me UTGST and SGST, UTGST and CGST. So all of those are combined together and called as input tax. And it also specifically includes IGST, which is charged on import of goods, then the tax payable under the provisions of section 9.3 or 9.4, that is when you pay taxes under reverse charge, that is also input tax. The tax payable under 5.3 or 5.4, which is under the IGST Act, and the tax payable under the provisions of 9.3 or 9.4 of the respective state act, the tax payable under same 7.3 or 7.4 of the UTGST Act. So whatever reverse charge you pay and IGST you pay on imports, that is also input tax. But does not include the tax paid under the composition levy because there the credit will not be available. Okay. Then what is a taxable supply? Taxable supply means a supply of goods or services which is leviable to tax. That is a normal definition of taxable supply. Taxable supply means a supply of goods or services which is leviable to tax under this act. And what is zero rated supply? Zero rated supply means any of the following supplies of goods or services, namely export of goods or services and supply of goods or services supplied to a SEZ developer or a SEZ unit. So this is the basic definition. Now we'll get into the provisions. The important provisions for claiming input tax credit is section 16. Section 16 says on the eligibility and conditions to claim the credit. Once you are eligible and you're claiming the credit, then there is a restriction which comes under section 17, which says about apportionment of credit. And it talks also about the very important 17 subsection 5 about the blocked credit. That is section 7.5. First is credit is given to you. Then the credit is curtailed from you, saying that these are to be apportioned and these are the credit which is blocked. Then comes section 18, which says what is the credit available in special circumstances. Then section 19 says that when you can take input tax credit in respect of inputs and capital goods which is sent for job worker. Then what is the manner of distribution of credit is covered in section 20. That is only for a input service distributor. And what is the manner of recovery of credit which is distributed in excess in case of section 21. So 20 and 21 will be read together. So we start with section 16. First, we'll go to the section 16, subsection 1, which says that Section 16 subsection 1 is about the eligibility to claim the credit. Section 16 subsection 1 says that any person who has taken registration under the GST and the goods or services. So there are two conditions. One is the okay, there are two conditions to claim the credit. One is section 16(1). It says that you have to get registration to claim the credit. अगर आपके पास registration है तभी आप इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट क्लेम कर सकते हैं. और सेकेंड कंडीशन है कि गुड्स और सर्विसेज शुड बी यूज्ड इन द कोर्स ऑफ द बिजनेस. मतलब जो भी गुड्स है आपको just one moment. तो फिर आपको दो कंडीशन क्लेम करनी पड़ेगी तभी आपको इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट का बेनिफिट मिल सकता है. क्या दो कंडीशन है? आपको रजिस्ट्रेशन लेना अनिवार्य है. सेकेंड, गुड्स जो है आपको यूज करनी पड़ेगी बिजनेस के लिए. गुड्स और सर्विसेज शुड बी यूज्ड इन द कोर्स ऑफ बिजनेस. तो I will repeat it in English also, Vaishnavi, don't worry. So, registration is required. Apart from registration, second condition is this, that goods or services should be used in the course of business. Only if these two conditions are satisfied, then you are eligible to take the credit. Such ITC, once that credit is available, such ITC is credited in the electronic credit ledger. What does this mean? Once you are eligible to claim the credit, once you have taken a registration and you're buying goods which are in the course of furtherance of business, then that credit, what is being given to your given by your supplier, that will appear in your electronic credit ledger. Will it appear automatically? No, sir, it will not appear automatically. We have to take up some action. What we should do? We should file our GSTR returns. Which is that returns which I will file and claim the credit? That return is called GSTR 3B. So I have to file this return called as GSTR 3B. Once I'll file this GSTR 3B, then the amount of credit which is given to me by section 16 will be self-assessed by me, because GSTR 3B is a self-assessed return. Once I self-assess the return, then it will be credited in my electronic credit ledger. Clear? So if that is clear, tell me a question that when it says that registration has to be done, okay, I am registered. Second condition, you're saying you understood that goods should be used in the course of business. So today I buy some raw materials, I do some production. Sales is not yet started. I do the same run of production next year. Sales is not yet started. Marketing team is not yet found the customer. Third month, I again do a sale. In the third month end, I sell only one unit. Okay. So, understood the facts. First year, no business. There is transactions, but no sale. Second year also, there is transactions, no sale. And third year, there is transaction of only one first sale. So in that case, my question to you is, can I claim the credit for the first month, for the second month, and for the third month? Yes, you can claim is what Bhaskar Das Nitin Prajapati is saying. Neeru Odedara is saying that no, you cannot claim it. Yes, sir, because of 1 to 1. Yes, sir, we can claim. Okay, so there's a mixed kind of reaction. Few are saying yes, we can claim. Few are saying we cannot claim. People who are saying we cannot claim, what is the logic behind that? श्रुति कुमारी फैक्ट समझ में आ गई ना मेरे? Based on the facts, you tell me, can I claim the credit or no? Hardik Marwa is saying, yes, sir, we can claim it if not selling exempted supply. Okay. So my question is specifically on this part, which says that goods or services should be used in the course of furtherance of business. And in the first 2 months, I have not made sale, and in the third month, I have made sale. So few are saying, sir, first 2 months don't claim the credit and claim the credit in third month. Okay. We cannot claim because services are goods not to be used in the course of furtherance of business. But this is not, that is the point I'm trying to make. In the first 2 months of business, which I have purchased, right? When I've purchased it, why did I purchase? To manufacture it and ultimately sell it. So I am into the business of whatever business selling this materials itself. So when I have to sell it, I have to do some activity. So this activity is in used in the course of furtherance of business. It is not for personal use, right? Any activity done with the factory will be those goods or services which is to be used in the course of business, and registration under GST is mandatory. So if these two conditions you use, so it is not necessary that you should have sales in this month itself. From our example, we understood that it is to be used in the course of furtherance of business. So I am manufacturing it. I didn't have sales in this month. That's fine. But the intention was always to sell it, always to use it in the course of business. So then that will still be eligible. People who have said that not eligible, please consider that. That goods or services which is used in the course of business. It's not necessary you should use it today itself. You can use it in any of the subsequent months. If you can use it, then these two conditions are satisfied, then you are eligible to take the credit. Clear here? If it is registered or no, we don't know. Which one, Preeti? Infinite period the person can claim, yes, but there has to be some consistency, right? You cannot run just a expense of for 50 years and you'll tell after 50 years I will sell. Not so possible, right? So it has to be some viability. Say, okay, 1 year, 2 year, there can be no sales. A lot of startups are coming up wherein they do kind of activities wherein their sales happen only after 1.5 years. So in that case, also they can claim the credit of whatever purchases they're making, whichever expenses they're using for the business. But the credit will be available, okay, in that case also. Now, infinite period, can we claim it? Yes, you claim the credit, then you can use it for any business which will happen. So in the first 2 months, if I had so much of credit, it got accumulated because I didn't utilize it. In the third year, the third month when I'm selling it, I can offset that credit. So your credit will get accumulated. Okay. Last month's credit is your credit. This month's credit will get added. Like that, every month your credit gets added, and it gets utilized when you have to pay some liability. That is when the credit will be utilized. So I can utilize it any number of time, but to claim it, there is a time limit, Hardik. We will come to that to see that what is the time limit to claim the credit. In your question on this point was missing that it's registered or not. Correct. If it is registered, Preeti, only then you can claim it. If it is not registered, you're right, we cannot claim the credit. What if he does not sell and use for personal purposes? We had seen the slide, Sanya, just 1 minute back, that any credit or any purchases which you're making, which you're using for non-business purposes or for non-taxable purposes, that credit will not be available. So you have bought something. Just one moment. You have bought something. Okay, you bought some raw material. Now you liked it and you have taken it to your house. So it is not for business purpose, it's for personal purpose. On that, credit has to be reversed. But if you use for business purposes and if there is no sale, still such credit can be claimed. Okay, so credit can be claimed. There is a time limit to claim the credit. Once you claim it and it is there in your electronic credit ledger, then there is no time limit for the balance what is there in your electronic credit ledger because there is a time limit to claim it. It's not that you can claim it any number of time or any time. There is a time limit to claim the credit. Within that time, if you claim it, then it becomes your credit, which can be utilized in the future anytime. Okay. So you have to follow two conditions that you have to take registration. Without registration, if you sell something, that's fine. Government will not trouble you because your limit is low. Saying that today you have started, your sales is 1 lakh rupees. Fine, don't take registration. Up to 20 lakhs worth of sales, you don't have to take registration. After that, you have to compulsorily take registration. Okay. So first condition to claim credit is that you should be registered and the goods or services should be used in the course of business. Only these two conditions are satisfied, then you are eligible to take the credit. That is all which is covered under section 16(1). Now, we'll come to 16(2), which says that there are some conditions basis which if you satisfy these conditions, then the credit what we said in 16(1) will be available. So section 16 subsection 2 gives you 6 conditions. It gives you 6 conditions that you satisfy these conditions, then you are eligible to claim the credit. What are those conditions? The first condition says that if you are in possession of a tax any credit, you have to be in possession of the tax paying document, which means what is the tax paying document is also being defined. It is either a debit note, a normal invoice, definitely tax invoice, debit note, bill of entry, reverse charge mechanism. All of this is the first condition. In these conditions, what the supplier gives you, he will generally give you what? Invoice, debit note. These are the general documents. So you should be in possession of these tax paying documents. अगर आपके पास ये टैक्स पेइंग डॉक्यूमेंट्स है तो आप क्रेडिट क्लेम कर सकते हो. कौन से टैक्स क्लेम के डॉक्यूमेंट्स हैं? टैक्स क्लेम करने के लिए कौन से डॉक्यूमेंट्स हैं? टैक्स इनवॉइस, डेबिट नोट, आईएसडी सप्लायर का, दैट विल कम इनटू द साइट की उस स्लाइड में देखेंगे हम कि क्या क्या डॉक्यूमेंट्स है. सो बेसिकली डेबिट नोट और इनवॉइस तो रहना ही चाहिए. मल्लो जद्दर अवेल करने के लिए टाइम है लेकिन यूटिलाइज करने के लिए कोई टाइम नहीं है. Okay. So you should be in possession of a tax paying document. That's the first condition. Second condition is invoices uploaded and appearing in your GSTR 2B. So whatever is the invoices, there is a return mechanism that we have to understand clearly. There is something called as a GSTR1. What does GSTR1 consist of? It consists of all the sales made, and once you have uploaded. Okay, so invoice should be uploaded by the vendor and it should appear in your 2B. That is the second condition. Without appearance in 2B, you cannot claim the credit. Okay, so invoices अगर आपको 2B में दिखता है तभी आप क्रेडिट ले सकते हो, वरना नहीं ले सकते हो. So credit which is appearing in your 2B, only that is the credit which is available. Third condition is receipt of goods. You should have actually received the goods. One is invoice. The first condition is tax paying documents. Second is just tax paying documents is not sufficient. If it is care of goods, then you should show receipt of 13. Receipt of the goods is the third condition, that the goods should have been actually received. Third condition, ITC should not be rectified. Okay. ITC should not be restricted. The fourth condition is ITC should not be restricted. What is restricted? There are some restrictions. If you fall under that restricted category, then your ITC will not be available. ITC should not be restricted. It should be unrestricted credit. Free credit, basically. Fifth one is the tax levied on supply is actually paid to the government. Now, who will pay this tax to the government? When they say this condition, who has to pay this tax to the government? It says that ITC, the tax levied on supply, is actually paid to the government. Will you pay? You're a customer. Will you pay to the government? Supplier. Anirudh is saying, yes, we will pay. So in this case, what happens is tax levied on supply is actually paid to the government. Is not the tax what we pay. We will pay it. Similarly, the supplier from whom we have received, he will pay it. So that is this part where it says the tax levied on the supply is actually paid to the government. So tax levied on supply should be actually paid by the supplier to the government, because you are a receiver. For that transaction, you are a receiver, you will sell it again. That's a different transaction. But the condition says that the tax levied is actually paid to the government. Correct. We will pay to the supplier and supplier will deposit to the government. And the last condition is saying that claim ITC by filing GSTR 3B. Okay. So you can claim ITC only by filing GSTR 3B. So there's a question here which says that, sir, I have passed full credit of 1 lakh rupees in my books of accounts, that when I purchased from the vendor, I have shown it as a IGST credit available to me. Now, 1 lakh rupees is the tax what is charged. I have passed it correctly, sir. Is it sufficient that of that last condition in section 16.2, which says that claim ITC by filing GSTR 3B? Once the supplier satisfy all of these 5 conditions, then the receiver has to claim the ITC by filing GSTR 3B. Fine. So these are the 6 conditions which you have to satisfy to claim the credit. Now, let us go one by one to understand this. Tax document is GSTR tax document, is invoice, then GSTR 2B, then goods and services, then there should be no restriction, then tax received by the government. Okay. Tax, no restriction, plus tax received by the government. So if these conditions are satisfied, only then you can claim the credit. Anirudh is saying tax document, then GSTR 3B, then goods or service, no restriction, tax received by the government, then you file GSTR 3B. So these are the 6 conditions which you have to fulfill. Correct. First condition you're not able to get. First condition is simple, Ajay Surya, that you should have the tax paying document. Okay? If somebody has charged you and he's given you an invoice and he's just levied tax of 50,000 rupees on the supply value, which can be, of course, high value. But on that, if somebody has claimed, so what is wrong there? Komal Jain, I'm not able to get any of your messages. Okay, so we understand one by one these 6 conditions. The first condition is uploading possession of a tax paying document. What is this tax paying document? Okay, first condition is you should be in possession of a tax paying document, which means what? You should have the invoice. When we say tax paying document, you should have that invoice. अगर मैं किसी से खरीद रहा हूं कुछ, I'm buying something from a vendor, he will give me that invoice. You should have that invoice is the first condition. Very simple condition that you should be in possession of a tax paying document. That is section 16 2A. Okay? It can be an invoice or a revised invoice which is issued by the supplier. Either that document or what other document you could have? You could have a invoice issued by the recipient receiving goods from unregistered supplier along with proof of payment. What is this? This is in case of a reverse charge mechanism wherein supplier is not paying the tax and supplier is not registered. So in that case, what you will do? You will issue a self invoice. This is called as invoice issued by the recipient. Okay. In case of a self invoice, the invoice is issued by the recipient. So invoice should be received by the recipient from unregistered supplier. So invoice issued by the recipient. Supplier is unregistered and he is not liable to GST because on reverse charge, receiver has to pay it. So in that case, supplier will not charge GST. He will not give an invoice, but you have to claim the credit because you will pay for the reverse charge and you have to claim it also. How do you claim it? By this. Okay, so invoice should be issued by the recipient receiving goods or services from unregistered supplier along with proof of payment of tax. Okay. So invoice should be issued by the recipient in case of reverse charge mechanism. Now let's take an example. You are going to a GTA. Okay. Now आप GTA के पास जाते हो. GTA is giving you a consignment note. Now for this, what will be the GST treatment? Correct, Hardik. So when a registered person purchases from a composition dealer, then also ITC cannot be claimed. Correct. So composition dealer cannot claim, and whatever he supplies on that also, a person cannot claim the credit. Okay. So in my question of GTA, what is the GST treatment, please? So if you purchase any consignment note, the person who pays the freight has stopped paying the tax. Sir, if a registered person purchases goods from a composition dealer, yes, that is fine. What happens in this case? Correct. So in this case, consignment note is given by a goods transport agency. It could be 5% without ITC or 12% with ITC. So if the consigner is not giving you an invoice, it means that he is not charging you GST. You have to pay under reverse charge. So we have to pay under reverse charge mechanism. Is he giving you invoice? No, because he's only giving you a consignment note and he is unregistered. So he is not giving anything. So RCM to be paid by recipient. So is output tax payable? Will be there. XXX rupees. On this, you have to claim the credit, correct? Because had the vendor charged GST, you would have claimed the credit. So in this case, instead of vendor charging me the GST, I am paying the GST on behalf of the vendor. Same supplier will give it to the government. Instead of he giving to the government, I am giving it to the government. Correct? So in that case, what is happening? RCM is to be paid by the recipient. So this is my output tax payable. And I will claim input tax credit to the extent of same. So RCM is to be paid by the recipient and input tax credit has to be claimed. Now, how will he claim this input tax credit? That is the question. Because condition one is saying, Baba, either invoice or revised invoice should be issued by the supplier. But in this case, supplier is not registered. So how will you claim the credit? Yes, Nayan Patil, we have to pay GST on RCM basis. Why not? We have to pay. Proof of payment. Okay, proof of payment is one. What else? What else? What are the conditions? Just proof of payment is sufficient to claim the credit. We will issue invoice along with proof of payment. Recipient खुद से ही invoice raise करिया. Correct. So that is called self-invoice. In such cases where the supplier is unregistered and you have to pay GST, you will raise a self-invoice, which is this second part, जो मैं यहाँ पे बोल रहा हूँ. That invoice issued by the recipient receiving the goods or services from unregistered supplier along with the proof of payment of tax. When we pay, then it has to be shown in portal to be nahi shruti. Self invoice will not appear in your GSTR 2B. Only the invoice which is issued by the supplier, it will be showing in your GSTR 2B, but invoice which you have yourself raised, वो आपके GSTR 2B में नहीं दिखेगा. Okay, this is the first instance. Second instance I will tell you is you have taken a service from a advocate. आप कुछ केस में फंस गए हो बिजनेस का मैटर में, एंड एडवोकेट सर्विस यू हैव taken. He is raising a invoice to you for rupees 1 lakh. Now, in this scenario, you tell me, should you pay RCM and should you raise self-invoice? Supplier has given you a tax invoice, but he's not charged any tax. Tax is mentioned 0, and invoice is given you for 1 lakh rupees. Is this under RCM? And should you raise self-invoice in this instance? I think it is exempt. Exempt क्यों है भाई? It is RCM, correct? So many have confirmed that, sir, is only for business entity, not for individual. Can also be business. Hardik, business doesn't mean only company. Business can be an individual running a business is also a business itself. So in case of an individual, also business is possible. So RCM, yes, sir, we need to pay. So RCM question is satisfied that yes, we have to pay RCM and claim the credit. Like just how we had explained in the first part, we have to pay and claim the credit. Now, self-invoice, should we raise or no? Yes, Ajay Surya, it is under 18% RCM. Self-invoice, Kazma Praveen, Ajay Surya saying no self-invoice. Okay, others, what are you saying? Self-invoice not required. Why not required? If I may unmute and ask you. Okay. So when a supplier is registered,
Sir?
okay. Yes, yes.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Sir, I have a doubt. As you said, if we are unregistered person, then we cannot pay the RCM and we can claim back. Correct, sir? Only if we are registered person for the advocate service, we can pay RCM and we can claim. Correct?
Correct, correct.
Okay. So what happens in case of an unregistered person, sir? Like me or any other person?
Yeah. So if the advocate services reverse charge, if we see on advocate services, reverse charge has to be paid by a business entity itself. Okay. If you are an individual and if you're claiming advocate services for any of your personal matters, then you don't pay RCM. The advocate also will not charge you any GST. But if you are a business and if you are not registered, but reverse charge is attracted to you because you are a business, that doesn't say that your limit is low, so you should not pay. No, for registration, you don't have that limit. But for paying reverse charge, till now you were not registered, nobody asked you tax. But now, if you have taken one advocate services, you have to register and pay reverse charge.
Okay, sir. Sir, is it okay if the advocate person is not filing the GST?
If
Because
he is
he
registered, then he has to file it. If he is registered, he will not pay taxes to the government. That's fine. But his return is very important. He will have to show how much is the sales he's made. to whom he has made, because to whom he has made, he will file a statement called GSTR1. There he will mention a column. In the GSTR1, a column appears, is the recipient liable to pay RCM? He has to select yes.
Okay.
Because the recipient, when he sees that information, he knows that he has to pay RCM.
Okay, sir. So this is going to reflect in our 2B.
Correct. It will
No.
reflect in our GSTR to be saying that this is your input, tax is zero, but this is liable to reverse charge.
Okay, sir. Got it.
So we were on our point that when an advocate is registered, you have to pay RCM. So should you raise self-invoice then? Shruti Kumar is saying self-invoice required. Okay. Self-invoice required. No, correct. When a person is registered and he is giving you an invoice, then self-invoice is not required. Okay. Only in this scenario when advocate is registered, very important. Don't get carried away otherwise. When the advocate is registered under GST, then you are not required to raise a self-invoice. You will raise a self-invoice only when the advocate is unregistered. अगर एक lawyer है जिससे आप service लेते हो and the lawyer is not registered, then you will raise a self-invoice. But if the lawyer is registered, then self-invoice is not required. Okay. Sir, in case of GTA 5%, the recipient cannot claim ITC. No, you can claim. GTA cannot claim it if he is charging you GST, but the recipient who is paying RCM, we can claim the ITC. Okay, this nowhere it is said that there is a restriction. There's only a restriction if the GTA wants to pay the taxes. If he wants to pay the tax, then he should not claim a credit to pay GST at 5%. If he wants to claim credit, he will charge 12%. But for recipient, it is always a credit which is available. Okay. So this is with respect to self-invoice and when you should raise a invoice and when you should not raise a invoice. Yes, Komal.
Sir, is there anywhere in our module it is mentioned that advocate service, if it is registered, this theory is available in module or should we note it down?
Please note it down because I am trying to draw a connection between reverse charge and your.
Okay.
So in reverse charge,
Sir,
they wouldn't
nowhere in
mention.
the module they have explained this, sir, like
Correct.
advocate service. Okay.
Correct. They have not explained it.
Thank you, sir.
So invoice issued by the recipient receiving goods will be the other document wherein basis which we can claim the credit. Third document basis which we can claim the credit is bill of entry. What is bill of entry? Yeah, we have discussed on this bill of entry. What is the bill of entry? Bill of entry means goods received notes. Bill of entry means invoice entry. No, what is a bill of entry? Yes. When goods are imported, the captain of the ship gives this to the customs officer telling about the goods which are imported. That is import manifest. Okay, invoice by composite supplier. Nahi, invoice by composite supplier is called bill of supply, not bill of entry. Bill of entry, bhai log, is a document when you clear your goods from the customs. This is not given by the captain or anybody. This is given by the customs authority. Captain gives that goods are cleared and he gives a bill of lading. But the customs officer who is sitting at the customs port to clear your goods, when your goods are being cleared, he will give a document called as bill of entry. So when you import any goods, there will be a bill of entry. It will have the value and all the details of your goods. Then it will also have the customs duty component and it will have the IGST, which is levied on import of goods. It's not levied as such, it is collected there. Got it? Bill of entry. Now, when you import something, customs duty is charged, and when you give your GST number, then IGST is also charged. That IGST component we can claim as a credit. That's not a loss for you. Customs we cannot claim, but IGST when you import something can be claimed again on the basis of some document. That document on you import is a bill of entry because invoice तो नहीं रहेगा. सप्लायर जो फॉरेनर है उसका इन्वॉइस रहेगा बट ही विल नॉट पे जीएसटी बिकॉज इज नॉट इन इंडिया सो यू हैव टू पे व्हेन यू आर क्लियरिंग द गुड्स या फिर जब हम कस्टम से क्लियरेंस लेते हैं दैट टाइम दिस बिल ऑफ एंट्री इज गेटिंग जनरेटेड ओके debit note when there is an increase in value there is an increase in rate correction has been made by the supplier he will give you a debit note on that debit note also we can claim the credit. Then document issued by a input service distributor. Who is an input service distributor? A person who is registered as an input service distributor is one who gets invoices for all of his branches in India. And he will distribute this credit to that respective state. जैसे एक बड़ी कंपनी है मान लीजिए अदानी एक कंपनी है वैसे भी मानना क्या है अदानी there's a company Adani has branches all across India. Now there will be common services which Adani is receiving, for which you cannot tell the vendor saying split your invoice into 10 different states and give to separate states. He will tell, I will not do all of those things. I'll give you one invoice, do whatever. So that one invoice, what he is giving, you will take a separate input. What registration you'll take? You'll take it as a input service distributor. What will you do being an input service distributor? You from these vendors who are charging you for common services, you will tell them, give me this invoices in this entity, this ISD entity, or a ISD registration. So they will give you invoice in this ISD registered place. From here, you will calculate what is the turnover of each state and you will distribute the credit to the respective states. So that is the job of an input service distributor. He, as the name suggests, he is an input service distributor. So you will distribute the GST as an ISD to your respective states. Okay, so that is a ISD credit where the ISD is giving you the credit for the common services. That is also one of the documents. Now, no ITC of tax paid towards demands involving fraud. This is a very important provision that any fraud case has been detected and you have claimed the ITC, तो फिर आपको credit नहीं मिलेगा. So in fraud cases, you cannot get the benefit of input tax credit. In cases of fraud, ITC is not available. Now this revised invoice, what we meant here, तो फिर क्या कोई भी कभी भी इनवॉइस रिवाइज कर सकता है क्या? When they say revised invoice, I've made a mistake in my original invoice. Instead of 1 lakh rupees, I mentioned 10,000 rupees. So can I issue a revised invoice and issue 1 lakh rupees the correct invoice bill? No, you cannot. No, sir. No, only notes. Yes, only debit note can be issued. Invoice cannot be revised. तो फिर ये revised invoice क्या है? Revised invoice is possible only in case of a new registered. When a person is registered and he is making a supply, he is applied for registration, but he has not given his GSTI number because उसका registration नहीं आया है. So once he gets the registration, he will revise these invoices which he is issued from the date of crossing the limit till he actually got the registration number. यहाँ तक का जो gap है, from the date he was applied for registration till the time he gets registration. For this interim period, whatever sales he's made, for that sales he has to issue a revised invoice. So revised invoice is possible only in case of this newly registered person. Okay. In all cases, can we do the revision? Mistake ho gaya, I am a new registered. Not everyone. Only the new registrant who has applied for registration but got it late. For him, there is a provision of revised invoice. Sir, is there any limit that how many times we can revise? There's no limit as such, but they've said that you should issue a revised invoice. When they say a revised invoice, it means only one time. So original invoice you have given, there is no mistake. That's only that the GSTI number of yours you have not mentioned for the receiver to claim the credit. So you will revise it and issue it. So you can do it only once. The next aspect is ISD provisions, that how is this input service distribution being decided, how much credit he has to give. Don't worry. This will all be discussed in the finals. Okay. That is all about the first condition. Now, what other pointers are there in this first condition? This credit note, the document which we are saying, it should be a proper invoice. But they're saying that even if it is not a proper invoice, these basic criteria should be there, Baba. GSTN of the supplier and recipient. What is the description of the goods? What is the total value of supply of goods or services? What is the amount of GST charged? Amount of the tax charged, which is CGST, SGST, IGST separately mentioning, and what is the place of supply in case of a interstate supply. Okay, so GSTIN, description of the goods, value of the goods, tax component, and place of supply. These 5 things are there. This is also sufficient for claiming the credit. So this minimum at least rehna chahiye. So will the e-commerce get the credit for the what he pays on behalf of supply business registered under his name? No, no, no. E-commerce will not get the credit. The supplier will give it to the recipient. Tax is paid by the e-commerce, but credit ultimately goes to the recipient itself. So these are the minimum requirements कि आपके पास invoice में पूरे details नहीं है, तो at least these minimum details at least should be there. That is condition 1, 16(2)(a). Now 16(2)(AA). 16(2)(AA) says that details of invoice or debit note. Details of invoice or debit note uploaded by the supplier should be uploaded by the supplier and communicated to the recipient in GSTR 2B. This is what second condition says, that the supplier should upload the invoices and it should be communicated to the receiver in 16(2) in GSTR 2B. Which means what? Invoices or ITC, input tax credit on invoices or debit notes, which has been furnished by the supplier in their GSTR 1 or IFF and reflected in the 2B of the recipient, then he can fully claim the credit. Okay, subject to all other conditions, but this condition says that अगर आपको 2B में है तो आप claim कर सकते हो. If ITC or invoices are debit note which have not been furnished by the supplier, and of course it is not reflecting in your 2B, then that credit cannot be claimed. So second condition is appearance of your credit in GSTR 2B. अगर आपके 2B में दिखता है तो फिर आप ले सकते हो, वरना आप नहीं ले पाओ. What is IFF? We'll come to that, but GSTR1 is one of the systems, correct, that supplier has to file it. So they have bought in a QRMP scheme called quarterly return and monthly filers. So they will file their returns GSTR1 on a quarterly basis. But the receiver wants the credit immediately, saying that you are QRMP, but I am not under QRMP. I need the credit. So for such quarterly taxpayers, the government has said that you file the GSTR1 at the quarter end, but interim may or monthly when you're making transactions, you file this IFF, interim financial reporting. Okay. So when you do GSTR1, it will be on a monthly basis or for a quarterly basis. In the middle, what you will file this invoice filing facility, wherein whatever supplies you made to registered person, if he wants to claim the credit, he can claim the credit by filing this IFF. आप IFF फाइल करोगे, रिसीवर को क्रेडिट दिख जाएगा, वो क्रेडिट ले लेगा. That's where this IFF is coming. IFF stands for Invoicing Filing Facility. Manvi, time of supply is not required. Time of supply is definitely required. Got it. So this is the second condition. So how does it flow? Mr. A, understand this. Mr. A sells goods to Mr. B. Okay, he's selling goods to Mr. B. And when he sells, he will file this GSTR1 and which will have details of supply. Now, this person is not filing monthly returns. He is filing QRMP returns. Okay, so if he's filing QRMP returns, then he will file monthly IFF. Okay, so that receiver has to get the credit. So he will file a IFF. Now, info from GSTR1 of Mr. A. So he's filing his GSTR1 or IFF. Both are same itself. So he will either file GSTR1 or he will file his IFF. From this, the data from GSTR1 gets reflected in the GSTR2B of Mr. B. If he's filing 1, then it will be 1. If he's filing IFS, then from IFF, the data will come in GSTR2B of Mr. B. Once it is appearing in the GSTR2B, he will utilize this amount, and the amount of ITC, that is the input tax credit, what is reflecting in GSTR2B, gets credited to the electronic credit ledger on filing 3B of Mr. B, because credit kisko chahiye? Mr. B ko chahiye. So he has to file his GSTR 3B, then the credit will appear in his electronic credit ledger. So how will he file the 3B? Using GSTR 2B data. How are we getting 2B? Basis what supplier is filing GSTR 1. So that is how the interconnection is there between GSTR 1, GSTR 2B and GSTR 3B. Nahi Preeti, if he's filing quarterly, he will file the GSTR 3B and 1 quarterly. IFS is invoicing filing facility, which is interim filing. So monthly he will file IFF and quarterly he will file GSTR 1. नितिन, इतना डिटेल बुक में नहीं दिया है, इसीलिए तो ये क्लासेस है। अगर बुक में इतना दे देते ये तो फिर ये पीओएस की क्लासेस की जरूरत नहीं पड़ती। दैट्स व्हाई दिस क्लासेस आर देयर टू गिव यू एंड एक्सप्लेन यू व्हाट इज नॉट देयर इन द बुक्स। Which date which will get updated in 2B, मैडम? GSTR 1 जो है 11th को अपलोड करना है, और IFF जो है 13th को अपलोड करना है। ठीक है, अगर आप अप्रैल की बात करते हो तो फिर आपको मई 11 तक GSTR 1 फाइल करना है और मई 13 तक IFF फाइल करना है। तो 13th को लॉक हो जाता है GSTR 1। फिर आप 14th से GSTR 2B में ये डिटेल्स देख पाएंगे। So whatever you are reporting in GSTR 1, whatever you are reporting in GSTR 1, that you have to report it by 11. And whatever you are reporting in IFF, you have to, due date is by 13th, you have to report it by 13th. Once you upload this, then it will be available in the recipient's GSTR 2B on the 14th onwards. So what does the 16.2a says? Again, we will read the section. The section says the details of the invoice or debit note, which is referred in clause A. मतलब जो documents हमने बताया था, those invoices or debit note has been furnished by the supplier in the statement of outward supplies, and such details have been communicated to the recipient of such invoice in the manner specified under section 37. मतलब what does it say? The details of the invoice, what is seen above, basis which you can claim the credit, has should be furnished by the supplier in what? In the statement of outward supply, that is GSTR 1, that should be updated, and such details has been communicated to the recipient of such invoice or debit note. So जो भी वो upload कर सकता है उसके basis में credit ले सकता हूँ. But there is a point here that everything will get uploaded, but can you claim credit of everything? No. Invoice on which ITC is not available, that is under section 75. When we'll read section 17, we'll get to know, but यहाँ पे समझ लीजिए कि section 75 is a block credit. जो भी credit आपका block हो गया है are not to be considered for claiming ITC. Okay? तो block credit में एक classic example है is कार। अगर आप कार लेस देन 30 सीटिंग कैपेसिटी वाला खरीदते हो, इवन इफ यू यूज्ड फॉर योर बिजनेस, जेन्युइनली फॉर योर बिजनेस, स्टिल आपको क्रेडिट नहीं मिलेगा। नाउ यू बॉट अ कार, you have given your GST to the car dealer. He is uploaded his GSTR 1 because for him it is sale. For you it is a block credit, but he is uploaded the invoice. Now it is appearing in your GSTR 2B. तो क्या आप उसका क्रेडिट ले पाओगे? कैन यू क्लेम द क्रेडिट ऑफ दैट? No, we cannot claim. So that is what this point is saying, because it's a block credit. So whatever is appearing in your GSTR 2B, आप blindly नहीं ले सकते हो. Supplier has filed his GSTR 1, it will upload in your GSTR 2B, but in 3B, you cannot claim it. You have to show it under block credit, correct? So 17.5 credits you cannot claim. Second point is Full ITC can be availed in respect of IGST paid on imports and documents submitted under reverse charge and credit which is received under IST. So these three things we can claim even if it is not appearing in our GSTR 2B, because when you import, it will not appear in your 2B, because it should be with such document which is uploaded by the supplier under section 37. So section 37 mein only a supplier will upload it. Bill of entries will be uploaded by the customs, but he is not a person who is supplying goods to you. So इसीलिए bill of entry का credit will not appear in your 2B. Now it is getting enabled that customs are pushing it, but that is not a criteria for you to claim the credit. So imports के लिए जो credit है आप on your bill of entry basis ले सकते हो. डॉक्यूमेंट्स इश्यूड अंडर रिवर्स चार्ज उस पे भी आप अपने आप क्रेडिट ले सकते हो. एंड in case of ISD also you can claim the credit. For that you don't have to see it in your GSTR 2B. So only these three cases you will not see in your GSTR 2. So if I have to explain it in numbers, ITC breakdown rupees 100 for the month. So this is your ITC. This is your ITC of rupees 100 for this month. Now there is a ineligible credit. इस जो 100 rupees आपके 2B में दिख रहा है. Okay, this is your credit. In this ineligible credit is rupees 10. You cannot claim this because it's a block credit. Then you will go for checking 16(2)AA compliances. You will see that yes, 70 rupees is appearing in your 2B. Yes, you can claim the credit. Now 20 rupees is not appearing in your 2B. You cannot claim it. So whatever is appearing in your 2B, we can claim it. What is not appearing, we cannot claim it. So then is this a loss? This is not a loss. What will happen to this? If 20 is there and the supplier is not uploaded, so it is not appearing in your 2B. So you will ask your vendor to upload it. So he will upload it probably next month if he uploads it. When he upload it, you will have to get it. You will get it when the vendor uploads it. So you can claim it next month. Vinuta, your question is job work claim ITC or not? How can job work claim the ITC? Job work के लिए goods you are giving. So it is your goods which is going to the job worker and coming back. Correct? So how can the job work claim the credit? But the job worker charges you the job work charges. On that you can claim the credit. But what material you are giving to the job workers, on that you cannot claim the credit. Now, what is appearing in 2B we can claim except importing of goods, RCM and ISD. For this, it is not appearing in 2B. Correct. Because those will not appear. So, दूसरे credits के लिए प्रीति that the requirement is it has to appear. For these three cases of importing of goods, RCM and ISD, this will not appear in 2B. Still, you can claim it. If he has not uploaded, Bhaskar, you have to follow up with him. So the government basically is trying to say that it is you and you are vendor. So you have your relationship with your vendor. If you want the credit, you follow up with your vendor. If he's not uploading, we will not give you the credit. The government is clear in this time. ठीक है. Let's take this example. See, as per my books, I have 8.4 lakh credit. So this you have to remember. This you should not forget. My first primary thing is, as per my books, my credit is 8.4 lakh rupees. I have the credit. Okay. Now, in case 1, supplier has furnished in form GSTR1 80 invoices involving ITC of rupees 6 lakhs as on the due date of furnishing the details of outward supplies by the supplier. So in this case, you tell me how much credit can I claim? I better hide this off. So you tell me in case 1, how much is the credit which is eligible? 6 lakhs rupees. If anything not under 17.5, correct. Because 17.5 hota to Anirudh, it would have been told in the question itself. Nothing has been told. So 6 lakhs can be claimed as a credit because that is what is appearing here. So 6 lakh amount of eligible ITC available. Second case, supplier, vanilla case, first one, so no problem. Second case, supplier has furnished in form GSTR1 80 invoices involving ITC of rupees 7 lakhs as on the due date of furnishing of the details of outward supplies. Here, how much can I claim? 7 lakhs of credit. Correct. So in second case, you're absolutely right. 7 lakh, that is the amount of eligible ITC available. Now, in third case, supplier has furnished in form GST 75 invoices involving ITC of rupees 8.5 lakhs as on the due date of furnishing of details. So, in this case, how much can you claim? 8.5 lakhs. People who have told 8.5 lakhs are wrong. Because मेरे books में credit कितना है 8.4 lakhs. And appearing in my GSTR 2B is 8.5 lakhs. So can I take 8.5 lakhs? Whatever is there in your 2B is not the actual or the credit. That's a condition to claim the credit. But for you to claim the credit, you have to verify the books also. आपके books में 8.5 है. अभी सप्लायर ने गलती से क्लेम कर दिया, गलती से GSTR1 दे दिया है, किसी और का जीएसटी नंबर देना था, but they have given your GST number, possible, or they have shown it as supply, but you have not actually received it. So whatever is the credit in your books, that is also relevant. You have to consider the credit in your books, verify that with your GSTR 2B. If it is there in your books, only then you can claim it. So the additional amount of ITC shall be limited to ensure that the total ITC availed does not exceed the total eligible ITC. Okay? So that is on this second condition. There can be a mistake on supplier, they will correct it, no problem. But we should restrict our credit to the extent of what credit is there in our books. Okay, we'll go to the next condition. We'll take a break of 10 minutes, go through this example, and let me know if there's any questions. proceed with the other conditions. So you have learned on the two conditions. First is 16(2)(a), then 16(2)(AA). Now we'll proceed quickly with the third condition to claim the credit. Third condition is 16(2)(b). Why it is not A, B, C, D continuously? Why it is A, then double A, then B? Do you have any wild guess why the government is not doing it in an alphabetical order? Even in your income tax, you would have seen such cases coming in. Everybody is aware of it. Correct. So we know how the system works, that if there is any amendment, then there is a new section which is added here. So there was 16(2)(a), then 16(2)(b). 16(2)(a) was an amendment and it was brought in. So what do we understand? 16(2)(a), this condition of appearing in GSTR 2B is not there from the beginning of the GST law. So generally, if some officer asks you saying that your credit you have claimed in 1718, but it is not appearing in 2A, people get scared. Oh, it is not appearing in 2A, I have to pay liability, and they pay it off also. But you should not get frightened up. You should know the law. You should know that yes, this condition in the law came only from 1st January 2022. 1st January 2022. So we cannot apply this condition from day one of the GST law. Okay. So 16(2)(AA), then 16(2)(b). 16(2)(b) says that you should have actually received the goods or services. The recipient, 16(2)(b), the text of the law says that he has received the goods or services or both. So if you are recipient of goods, you should have received the goods. If you're recipient of services, you should have received it, or both. So you should have actually received the goods or services or both. Recipient shall have received the goods by own or by his agent. That is also permitted. There is a proviso which says that the constructive receipt is also permitted, saying that boss may nahi ho. If you are getting any order from Amazon, you're not at home, and somebody else is taking from home, is it treated as not delivered or is it treated as delivered? Still treated as delivered, correct? Because you or the receiver or your agent or any other person on your behalf has taken it. So it is permitted. Similarly, in this also, when you are a recipient, you could receive it yourself or by anybody who is acting as your agent or on whose or any other person on his behalf to claim the ITC. If recipient has paid advance to the supplier for supply in future date, you're given advances. Can you claim the credit? You cannot claim the credit because you have not received the goods. The supplier of service, the time of supply is that he should pay GST on advance. So he will pay GST on advance, but you are the recipient. You cannot claim credit on advance. You should claim only when the actual service is received. Hardik, what is your question? Not very clear with it.
Good, good afternoon, sir. Sir, in exemptions chapter, any amendment which used to come, if the government passes it within the time, then it would have a retrospective effect. Sir, is it right?
Correct. Correct. That's only for amendments, and they should have issued the amendment or a new notification within 1 year's time.
1 year's time. That's
But
what I
in
was.
correct. So that is only applicable for exemptions.
Okay, sir.
For these notifications, that retrospective will not apply.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So recipient, when you pay the advance, you cannot claim the credit. Bill to ship to transactions. When I am billing to you and shipping to somebody else, you have not received the goods. So how can you claim the credit? You can still claim the credit because it is treated as constructive delivery. So when this Ganesh Traders, our normal friend, bills to Maruti Traders, the place of supply is Maruti, right? Shipping to Prime Hardware, but still it is treated as received by Maruti Traders itself. The proviso to 16(2)(b) gives this relaxation, saying that in case of a bill to ship to transaction, if you are a recipient of the law that you are recipient of services, then it will be treated as you are the recipient, even though you're not receiving the delivery of the goods. Then this is the 16(2) B condition. Next, 16(2)(ba). Again, there's an amendment in this. It says that details of ITC in respect of the supply are not restricted under Section 38. This condition is very, very important condition, or you could say very dangerous condition, because whatever is appearing in your 2B, we have already restriction under Section 17(5). But this condition says that whatever it is appearing in 2B, you will get a bifurcation wherein we will restrict your credit under Section 38. Now, if this restriction comes, you cannot claim the credit. So what they're trying to say is, आपके GSTR 2B में you will have the details of inward supply. You will have bifurcation of the credits, what is appearing. You will have bifurcation on which ITC is available to the recipient. This you can claim it. And you will have a bifurcation on which ITC cannot be availed. On this, you cannot claim the credit. So you have satisfied all other conditions. Supplier has paid the taxes, everything. But still, you will not be able to claim the credit, because Section 38 gives that embargo, saying that we are doubtful on certain suppliers. Whether they will pay the GST or no, we don't know. Today, you can claim credit based on GSTR 1, but there is lot of fake invoicing going in the industry. So to restrict that, we are putting this special condition on which ITC can be availed or no is doubtful. So you have to wait and see. So 38 gives a restriction, and based on that restriction, you cannot claim the credit. Okay. Now, what are all the basis? What is the logic of the department to clear that, give that thing is specified here. ITC is not available in respect of inward supplies, details of which has been furnished by the following registered person, who is a registered recipient, a new registered recipient, just not just a registered person, but any person who is a new registered. So वो नया है, we don't know how he will react. So his credit will be, his supplies to you will be blocked or restricted under Section 38. Who is a new registrant? Second is who has defaulted in payment of tax. He is a defaulter. He has defaulted the government's payment. So his credits also you cannot claim. Whose output tax, as per his GSTR var 1, exceeds the output tax in 3B for a particular tax period, or who has availed ITC more than the credit what is appearing in GSTR to be not yours, but your vendors. All of this condition is the vendors. If the vendor has done anything wrong, and if you are dealing with such vendor, then your credit will be blocked. Or who has defaulted in discharging his tax liability in accordance with Section 49 to read with Rule 86B. We will see what is this 86B. That is, who has discharged more tax liability from the electronic credit ledger than prescribed under Rule 86B. So Rule 86B simply says that, Baba, if your turnover is more than a specified limit, 99% you can use from your credit ledger, 1% you have to pay from your cash ledger. Now, this person has violated that also. So, such person's credit will be blocked. So, in this, our sixth condition is such other class of persons as may be prescribed. ये तो खुलेआम दे दिया गया है. It's an open-ended thing saying that the government or the CBIC will specify certain class of persons whose from whom if you're purchasing, it will be blocked under Section 38. So Section 38 is a draconian provision that you have done everything. Supplier is a right supplier. He's a genuine supplier. But just because of these criterias, he's a new registrant, is defaulted in payment of tax for 1 or 2 months, then all of that will not be available to you. But once he clears that, that will become available to you. So this condition is specifically to block such instances where the is supplier is a fake invoicer. So how will the government know? To give that time period, they have brought in this condition saying that at least 2 to 3 months the receiver will suffer, but at least government will not be a sufferer there because of the fake invoices. The government is suffering a lot of values. That's why to get rid of this section 38 conditions are there. So how to see the vendor has defaulted so that recipient does not face such issues? So this in your 2B, you will have a separate list, Hardik, to check whether he has filed or no. And you can also check on the GST portal. Just put the GSTI and number of the supplier. It will give you a return status. It will give you the vendor's details, name, address, whether his registration is active or no. And you will also get his return filing status, whether he is filed or not filed. Please explain point number 3. Point number 3, Anirudh, is where the output tax payable as per GSTR 1. We know GSTR 1, you have to upload all your outward sales, and GSTR 3B, from that sales, you have to pay the taxes. So if you have shown output tax in 1, which is very high, and paid taxes in 3B, which is very low, which means that you are showing more sales but paying less tax. That is the case of a third defaulter where I'll give you some numbers to example. To understand this, in my GSTR 1, I have given invoices to 10 people of 10,000 each. 10,000 into 10 is 1 lakh rupees. I have shown 1 lakh rupees. But in my GSTR 3B, I have considered only 6 invoice and I have paid GST output of 60,000 rupees. So then I'm defaulting, right? I'm showing more GSTR 1. Receiver will claim more credit, but I've paid to the government how much? Only 60,000 rupees. So that is the third criteria. Okay, so this is the fourth condition which says that these people will be blocked. Oh, practically, if you see, this is not yet started, but it will start soon on the portal. For now, we haven't seen this enabling in the portal as yet. तानिया थर्ड कंडीशन, थर्ड और फिफ्थ, ठीक है, मैं थर्ड फोर्थ और फिफ्थ फिर से दोबारा रिपीट करता हूँ. थर्ड कंडीशन बोलता है आपने GSTR 1 में ज्यादा अपलोड किया है और आपने GSTR 3B में कम अपलोड किया है, तब आपका फाइलिंग ज्यादा दिख रहा है लेकिन पेमेंट ऑफ टैक्स कम है. दैट इज द थर्ड कंडीशन. फोर्थ कंडीशन है जब आपने ITC ज्यादा ले लिया है देन व्हाट इज देयर इन योर 2B. आपके 2B में तो 1 लाख है लेकिन आपने क्रेडिट 1.5 लाख ले लिया है, 1.5 लाख ले लिया है, तो फिर फोर्थ क्राइटेरिया वो हो गया. फिफ्थ क्राइटेरिया बोलता है 86B का उल्लंघन किया है, मतलब आपको पे करना था टैक्सेस एटलीस्ट 1% इलेक्ट्रॉनिक कैश लेजर से, लेकिन वो भी आपने नहीं किया, तो फिर फिफ्थ कंडीशन में आप डिफॉल्टर हो. सो the condition 3 says when you have filed more value in GSTR 1 and less value in 3B. Fourth condition says that you have claimed credit in your books more than what is there in your 2B. And fifth condition says that you had to pay taxes at least 1% of your liability through your cash ledger, but you have not you done that also. You have paid the entire liability through your credit ledger. That is the fifth condition. Okay. Point number 4, an example, credit 1 lakh rupees in your 2B. You have claimed 1,50,000 rupees. So you're discharging your outward liability with the credit, which is not your credit. So in such case, it becomes a defaulter. How possible in case 4, Tanya? Case 4 में possible है ना that your outward liability is 1 lakh rupees. Okay, I will give you this with numbers. Your GSTR 3B. In your GSTR 3B, what will be there? Output tax and less input tax. Correct? And net liability will come here. Say in your 3B, your output tax is 1 lakh rupees. Your input tax is 1,50,000 rupees. So your net liability is 0. It is 0, and credit carried forward will be how much? 50,000 rupees. Okay. Now, the fourth criteria says, Baba, you have claimed this input tax credit of 1,50,000 rupees. But when you see your GSTR 2B, okay, in your GSTR 2B, the credit is only 1,25,000 rupees. But you have claimed how much? You have claimed 1,50,000 rupees. तो 25,000 आपको benefit हो गया ना? So that's why fourth criteria also saying that जैसे these people are there who have claimed more credit, that's why they are also part of the defaulters. Tanya, you understood this point? Good question, Preeti. If 2B is 125, how can I claim 150? There is no kind of blockage in the returns. The rule, the act says that, boss, you should claim 1,25,000, but you have claimed more. Now, government will identify such situations because they have all the data with them. They cannot actually come and catch you while filing the return itself because there's so many taxpayers. So they'll not get to know then and there, but later on, they will get to know. Correct, Hardik. So 99%, yeah, a lot of people were just claiming the credit. They used to give a wrong bank account. But now once they make it through the bank account, then that bank gets traced. That's the reason they try to do this. Correct. 25,000 is the extra claim made. So whatever. So they have not specified the limit. They've just said any credit which is claimed more than what is there in the 2B, then you'll be under this list. Okay. So this is the condition 4. Now we'll go to the next condition. Tax leviable on supply is actually paid to the government, which means the supplier, if he gives you the data in GSTR 1 appearing in GSTR 2B, that is not sufficient. It has to be paid also by them. How will they pay? By filing their GSTR 3B, which means the supplier should have actually paid the tax charge on the goods or services for which ITC is being taken either in cash or by utilizing the ITC, subject to the provisions of Section 41, which means they should be claiming it in a proper manner. Section 41 says availment of self-assessed ITC. A registered person can avail the credit of eligible ITC as self-assessed in his return, and such amount shall be credited in his electronic credit ledger. Preeti was asking, sir, how can you claim more than what is there in your GSTR 2B? Because it's a self-assessed return. There could be actually genuine cases that I had to claim 25,000 last month, I forgot. Now I am claiming it. So it is possible my 2B will be 125. Last month's 25,000 added 1,50,000. For every extra credit, there can be a reason, but whether that reason is genuine or not depends. So do I avail the ITC once I claim it in my 3B through self-assessment where I am self-deciding it, then I can claim the credit. Yes, Komal?
So I have a doubt. In case if you have claimed wrongly, like as you said, 1,25,000, but we have claimed 1,50,000. The 25,000 is the correct credit. But in case we have availed the credit wrongly, is there any penalty, or we can
Yes.
simply reverse and
So we'll see in the further provisions that if you have availed the credit, okay, and now you have not utilized with your output tax payable. If you have not utilized, then you can reverse it and there will not be any interest or penalty. But if you have utilized it, which means that you had some output tax and you have utilized this credit, you have offset this credit with your outward liability, that is called utilization. So if you utilize the credit, then there is a provision for interest and also penalty.
okay, sir. In case of wrong credit, like we have claimed for car purchase or
Hmm.
anything like that, for by mistake we have claimed it. We are not aware of the rule at that time.
Hmm.
And afterward, if we reverse, and for that also, without claiming the credit, sorry, without utilizing the credit, if we reverse, then there is no penalty.
Correct. If you have not utilized it, the credit was just availed and it was lying in your electronic credit ledger. बस चल रहा है इतने सालों से. You have paid your outward liability with some other credit. Okay. So say your credit on car purchase was 1 lakh and your electronic credit ledger always had minimum balance of 1 lakh rupees. Right? So then we can say this 1 lakh balance is from this wrong utilization of credit. I have never utilized this credit. I've only availed the credit. So as long as you have availed it, not utilized it, you can reverse it. No interest, no penalty. Any credit for
Oh,
that matter.
okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Now reversal of ITC. If the tax payable corresponding to such ITC availed is not paid by the supplier, supplier has to pay only then you can claim. Now, if supplier has not paid it, then ITC so availed has to be reversed by the said person along with applicable interest. Like how Komal had asked, should I pay interest or penalty? That again the same answer that if you have availed and utilized, then you have to pay interest. If you have availed and not utilized, then no interest will be payable. So what is the law saying? Law is saying very simple terms, avail, reverse, because the supplier is not paid, and you can re-avail it once the supplier pays it. So the government is not being very harsh. They're saying just timing difference. You have availed the credit. Fine, I have availed it. Supplier has not filed the returns. How will I get to know? In your GSTR 2B, there's a column which says that whether the supplier has filed the GSTR 3B return for that month or not. So if he's not filed it, government is giving you time, saying that boss, tell him to file it. Till when are you giving me time, sir? Sir, for 23-24, I am giving you time till September 2024. At least till September 2024, tell your vendor to file it so that your credit is not at stake. So they are giving you a time till September of the next year from the end of the financial year. So 23-24, they're giving time till September 24. For 24-25, they're giving time till September 2025. So you claim the credit provided the September returns, तब तक तो supplier को file करना है. If he files it, no problem. Even after that, he doesn't file, then you reverse the credit. And you re-avail the credit once the supplier files the return. तो उसने सितंबर में फाइल नहीं किया लेकिन मार्च में फाइल किया है. So then you can claim it again in March. Sir, if utilized and person filed it afterwards, then interest will be reversed? No. Because September, they have, see, April's case, they have given you till September. Even till September, he's not filed it, then you have to pay interest. Interest will not be reversed. Only the input tax which you had reversed can be re-availed. Okay. They have given you so much of time. I think usse beyond interest to banta hai. Right? So what is the reversal procedure? Just one moment. Yeah. So the procedure is a registered person can claim the ITC in his GSTR 2B based on the GSTR 1, right? Then, however, if the supplier does not furnish the GSTR 3B for the tax period till the 30th September following the end of the financial year, then the said amount of ITC shall be reversed by the recipient while furnishing the returns in form GSTR 3B on or before 30th day of November. If it doesn't file by September, तो फिर by October's return, which will file in November, you have to reverse it. Okay. Re-avail it when the said supplier subsequently furnishes the return in 3B or for the said tax period. The said registered person can re-avail the amount in the return in form GSTR 3B for the tax period thereafter. September month is fixed for re-availing the credit. For re-availing nahi, for reversal. For reversal, September is fixed. If you want to reverse it before also, you can reverse it. ताकि आपका interest बच सके. You can reverse it before also, but maximum by September, you have to reverse it. If you reverse the ITC, it will add it to your outward tax liability. It doesn't go back to the supplier or it doesn't go to the government. Ultimately, if you reverse it, okay, there is a 3B column in the 3B returns. I think in the next class, I should show you how the GSTR 3B works. Then you'll have a proper understanding. So I will take some screenshots and keep it ready of how do we show the reversal in the 3B. Okay. So we will do a reversal. Once we do the reversal, it will get added to my outward tax liability and then I will pay that much of tax. So it actually goes to the government, doesn't go to the supplier again. Arun Kumar's question is what happens if the advocate fees exceeds 2.5 lakhs? Recipients deduct TDS also along with RCM. Correct. Clear with this? So री-अवेलमेंट और रिवर्सल एक बार फिर से बताना, ठीक है। तानिया, आपका क्वेश्चन क्या है, क्या आप पूछ सकते हो सो दैट इट इज क्लियर? अनम्यूट करके।
सर ये पॉइंट ही समझ नहीं आया, रीअवेलमेंट ऑफ रिवर्सल ऑफ आईटीसी।
Okay, so I'll explain from first. I will get the credit with the condition that supplier has paid the tax to the government. So the government is giving time to the supplier that file the returns at least by September. At least I'm saying, because अगर उसके पहले भी फाइल करता है तो no problem. But till September, if the supplier from whom you have taken the credit, he has not filed the returns, then you reverse the credit because it is your vendor. You have dealt with him. You have bought goods from him. Now you suffer. You reverse the credit. Okay? So you will reverse the credit. Now you have followed up with the vendor saying, boss, 1 lakh का credit है, मेरा नुकसान हो जाएगा. I need the credit. So you please file the return. Somehow in December he's filed the return. So once he files the return in December, आपके 2B में दिखेगा. You will be able to see it in your 2B. Once you see it, you can re-avail the credit. मतलब credit जो reverse किया है, उसको दोबारा ले सकते हो आप. You can re-avail that credit in the December months because December के 3B, December के 2B में आपको दिख रहा है that he has filed the return. So you can claim it in the December month. That is called as re-availment of the reversed credit.
ओके सर।
I will try to explain this again with the numbers. So hopefully we understand this much in a better manner. First condition is registered person has claimed the credit. So in November, I have claimed the credit in my 3B of 50,000 rupees. So I've done this first part. November 50,000, I have claimed it. Now this fellow, when I see in my 2B, it was appearing, so I've claimed the credit. Later on, when I see his status, he has not filed the return. So what I will do, I will come to September and reverse the credit. So इसको क्या करूंगा मैं, minus कर दूंगा, within bracket मतलब minus. So I will reverse the credit. And so what is the effect? 0, because I had claimed the credit. Now I'm reversing the credit. Then I have followed up with him, and finally in the December he has filed the return. So I will claim back the credit. So ultimately जो 50,000 आना था, मुझे 50,000 आ गया है. लेकिन क्या हुआ बीच में? I had claimed it because he did not file. I had to reverse it, follow up with him. He has filed it. Then I could claim the 50,000. Ultimate effect is 50,000 itself. How will it appear if it doesn't deposit it? Shruti, the 2B doesn't get reflected basis 3B. It get reflected basis of GSTR 1. So once you file GSTR 1, it will appear in the 2B. तो 1 में तो फाइल कर देते हैं, लेकिन 3B में नहीं दिखा. So the supplier has not filed one of the invoices in this month, then file for December month or the invoice month. He will select the actual invoice month. Invoice date will be actual invoice date. Which month he files, that month it will appear in my GSTR 2B. Anirudh, again the same thing. Basis of 1, you can claim it in your 2B. So the recipient has to reverse till November. Is supplier has not filed till September. Correct. He has to reverse in November. That's the outer limit. November 30th means what? Which return? October's return. By October's return, you have to reverse it. ठीक है. Now we'll go to the next aspect. Sixth condition says that filing of the return. 5 conditions we have understood. Sixth condition is 16(2)(d). It says that आपको credit चाहिए, you need the credit, then file your GSTR 3B. Without filing the 3B, the credit will not come to you. 2B, GSTR 1, all of that is there. But to come to your electronic credit ledger, you have to file your GSTR 3B. In your GSTR 1, what will you do? You will report your sales. In GSTR 2B, you will get all your inputs, all your input tax credit, and whatever is in your 1, total of 1 minus what is correctly to be claimed in 2B, in दोनों को minus करके you will file your GSTR 3B, which is the final return. You file this GSTR 3B return, only then you will get the credit. Okay. Now, those were the 6 conditions under 16. Now, there are other provisos under section 16, which is very important. First is where the goods are against an invoice are received in lots, small lots or installments, like our typical example of lift. When you buy a lift, it is invoice तो आपको पहले मिल जाता है, but the invoice is received, but the goods are not received today. It is received, say, in 3 days. So unless you receive the last lot, you cannot claim the credit. Shall be entitled to take credit upon receipt of the last lot itself. Okay. Payment to be made to the supplier within 180 days. This is second proviso to 16.2. Very important. It says that if you want the credit, pay to the vendor within 180 days. If you default in this payment, then your credit will be reversed. You have to reverse it. Same जैसे हमने कहा था, avail, reverse, re-avail. Similarly, within 180 days, if you do not pay, then you have to reverse it. Will it go back to the vendor? It will not go, but your credit will get blocked. You will not be able to claim the credit. And afterwards, when you pay on the 181st day or 200th day, whenever you pay, you can reclaim it. Okay. So same, you have to go each invoice wise because it is 180 days from the date of issue of invoice. 180 days not for the month. It is from the date of issue of invoice. Each invoice you should have a track. In your accounts, you will have this track because MSME requires you to make payments within 45 days. All the laws are set in motion now and all the data is available in your books of accounts. So you have to have invoice-wise details. Any invoice which you have not paid within 6 months or within 180 days to be precise, then you have to reverse the credit. Later on when you pay, then you can claim the credit. I don't pay at all. Don't claim the credit at all. Simple. If paid later than 180 days, then reverse the credit. Add in your output tax, pay interest at 18% from the date of availing till the date of reversal. On payment, reclaim it without any time limit. For reclaiming, there is no time limit. अगर आपने एक बार claim कर दिया है, reverse कर दिया है, then you can reclaim it anytime. Will the ITC be refunded if the business is going up, winding up? No, sir. Nothing of that sort will be available. Exception to this is reverse charge, because in reverse charge, supplier is not charging you GST. So in reverse charge, they've said in reverse charge scenario, बाबा आपको pay करने की जरूरत नहीं है. Pay तो करना ही है, but this blockage will not be there. Second is in case of a deemed supply. Schedule 1 we had read there when you are making any supply. Okay, so in such deemed one, it is treated because there is no payment happening. So इसलिए वहां पे this 180 days criteria will not apply. Third is any addition made to supplier's liability being incurred by the recipient of the supply. So we had seen under valuation where the recipient pays anything to the vendor directly. There तो payment already हो गया, मुझे सिर्फ value add करना है, correct? और payment तो customer ने already pay कर दिया है. So that's why wherever there is addition made, basis that valuation rules, section 15 में we had read that any supplier's obligation which is met by the recipient has to be added. So such cases also, these three scenarios, there will be this condition will not be applicable of 180 days. In case of reverse charge, ITC is claimed by recipient, not by the supplier. Correct. So where the recipient has to make the payment, recipient only has to make payment to the supplier for the value, right? So there is no limit of 180 days. He can make payment any day is what this law exception is saying. तो उसको क्रेडिट क्लब क्लेम करेगा, जब वो सेल्फ इनवॉइस रेज करेगा तब वो क्लेम कर लेगा. करेक्ट विस्मिता? 15B. Okay. Now let's quickly go to the next one. ITC on capital goods. Will you get the credit on capital goods? In your income tax, do you get the expenses in the first year itself? Okay, so you're getting confused with 1, 2B and 3B. Hardik, I'll again take you to the slide. What happens is when you are making any supply, you will file your GSTR1. First, you will declare. What is GSTR1? Is a statement of outward supply. So whatever outward supply you're doing, you are declaring that in GSTR1. Okay, that's all you have to do in GSTR1. Whatever is your sales, then the credit notes, debit notes for your sales, you have to declare in GSTR1. Now you have declared it on 1. Basis your declaration, the receiver will claim it, will see it in his GSTR2B. Because 1 you file on the 11th. By 14th, he will see the GSTR2B. What is GSTR2B for him? It is his input tax credit. आपने मुझे सेल किया है तो मेरे लिए इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट है. So it will appear in my GSTR2B. So I am assured कि इतना क्रेडिट मुझे मिलेगा. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 तक मैं उसको देख सकता हूँ. फिर 20th को मुझे GSTR3B फाइल करना है. उसमें क्या करूंगा? जो मेरा टोटल सेल्स है, कौन सा सेल्स है? वॉट एवर आई हैव रिपोर्टेड इन 1, वहां से टोटल सेल्स लूंगा. वॉट एवर क्रेडिट यू हैव गिवन टू मी, वो जो 2B में दिख रहा है, दैट क्रेडिट आई विल टेक, आई विल रिड्यूस इट एंड वहां पे मैं टैक्स पेमेंट करूंगा. 1 और 2B में कुछ टैक्स पे नहीं कर रहा हूँ, इट्स ओनली अ स्टेटमेंट. लेकिन दिस हेल्प्स मी इन प्रिपेयरिंग माय GSTR3B. In my 3B, I will report total sales, I will reduce the input tax credit, and then final जो amount है वो pay करूंगा. So 3B is the return, 1 and 2B are only statements. In RCM, the recipient will raise self-invoice. The mail only he will be claiming तो करेक्ट, वही तो बोल रहे हैं ये प्रीति. सेल्फ इनवॉइस के केस में 180 डेज आएगा ही नहीं. In GSTR 2B input means ITC? Yes, input means ITC. So कैपिटल गुड्स की हम बात कर रहे थे. ऑन कैपिटल गुड्स, जब आप इनकम टैक्स में कोई असेट परचेज करते हो तो फिर आपको डेप्रिसिएशन पूरा मिल जाता है एक ही साल में. इज द बेनिफिट अपीयरिंग इन 1 year itself? नहीं ना. तो फिर जीएसटी में क्रेडिट पूरा मिलना चाहिए या नहीं? जीएसटी में क्रेडिट पूरा मिलेगा because the government is assuring you that if you have bought any capital goods, we will give you full credit today itself. So when the registered person has claimed depreciation, but there is a catch. If depreciation has been claimed on the tax component of the cost, then input tax credit on the said component shall not be allowed. But if you have not claimed the depreciation on the tax component, then you can claim the GST benefit. That is what it is saying. And also in capital goods, unlike depreciation where you have claiming year on year expense, in GST, once you avail the capital goods and if you have not claimed depreciation on the tax component, you can claim the credit in the month of purchase itself. You don't have to claim it in as well when you depreciate. Correct. Correct, Vispita. Either claim depreciation or ITC, दोनों लड्डू नहीं मिलेंगे. Fine. Next is time limit to claim the credit. A registered person shall not be entitled to take any input tax credit in respect of the invoice or debit note of supply of goods or services or both after the 30th November following the end of the financial year to which the debit note pertains or the due date of furnishing annual return, whichever is earlier. Okay? Very important. You will definitely get some question from this saying that if you are claiming credit, okay, आपको time limit दिया गया है. This month you made a purchase. Appearing in your 2B, all the conditions are satisfied. 16.4 tells about this, that you can claim the credit. Sir, I missed to claim it. Don't worry, claim it next month. Next month also, sorry, sir, I was doing my CA studies, I forgot. Third month, sir, I again forgot. Second month, which I was preparing, no. Third month, I had to write the exam. So I didn't claim it. Fourth month, fifth month, every month you have excuse. At the end of the year, okay, April ka credit you should have claimed at least during the year, in the March month at least. March month also, sir, I had a lot of bank audits, so I didn't claim it. That is also gone. Comment is saying, if you sleep so much, how can I help you? Okay, I'll give you one more last chance. So April 2023's credit, go and at least claim it next year. Next year you will file the 3B, no? In that 3B you claim it. So that also I forgot. Last year's credit you forgot in April. What else can I say? Claim it in May. So that also I forgot. Last warning I'm giving you, by the 30th November, what return you will file for next year. That is latest by October return. October return you will file by 20th November. That also if you delay it by 10 days, no problem. By 30th November, whatever return you file, in that you claim, else I will not give you the credit. So the government is saying that to claim a credit, it is not fixed to 1 month, 2 months, or 3 months. It is a period for April. It is April to March, 12 months, and then again 7 months. So totally, they are giving you 19 months time limit to claim the credit. Because if you don't claim the credit in your 3B returns, there is no way you can get the credit. If you have just passed the entry in books of accounts, that is not at all sufficient. People who believe that in the books of accounts, it can be there, that is not right. So your credit should be claimed in your 3B returns. So April month's returns, you can claim it till September. March month's return, which is March 23-24, that also you can claim it by September 2024. तो इतना टाइम है क्लेम करने के लिए. Either 30th नवंबर या फिर आपने रिटर्न पहले फाइल कर दिया एनुअल रिटर्न, तो फिर उस टाइम तक आपका क्रेडिट ब्लॉक हो जाएगा. जनरली द ड्यू डेट फॉर एनुअल रिटर्न इज December, so you will generally file it after November itself. So your default time limit will be 30th November. So by the 30th November or the date of furnishing annual return, whichever is earlier, you should claim the credit. So much of time they have already given you. However, this time limit will not apply for re-availing. So we had said no, reversal, re-availing. For re-availing, there will not be any time limit. Last year's credit can be claimed at once. It can be claimed at once or it can be claimed in the monthly credits also. Not necessary at once. You can claim it at once or you can claim it in the monthly returns also. Komal, what is your question on claiming of depreciation? नयन जो फाइनेंशियल ईयर है इनकम टैक्स में, वही फाइनेंशियल ईयर जीएसटी में भी लगता है. सो एनुअल रिटर्न्स फाइनेंशियल ईयर के लिए ही है, which is April to March. Supplier has supplied the goods to the unregistered person. We have paid the outward supply tax in GSTR1. In that case, the outward tax are paid to whom? All the outward tax are paid to the government only. भूमिका, जो भी आप टैक्स पे करते हो किसी के हाथ में जाके पर्सनली नहीं देते हो. आप जो भी टैक्स है वो गवर्नमेंट को ही देते हो. सभी टैक्स गवर्नमेंट को ही जाएगा.
सर क्लेमिंग ऑफ डिप्रिसिएशन समझ में नहीं आया सर. मतलब डिप्रिसिएशन एक बार कैपिटल गुड्स में लगा दिया तो हम लोग उसको आईटीसी क्लेम नहीं कर.
So I'll give you an example. You have purchased a asset
ओके सर.
which is plant and machinery for 1,50,000 rupees. Okay. On this, GST will be charged by the vendor. He's charged you 18% GST. How much is 18% on 150? 27,000. Okay. So your total value is 1,77,000. Okay. Now you have two options. Option one is claim depreciation on 1.77 lakhs. Plant and machinery में कितना depreciation? It depends on the plant, generally 15%. So you will claim depreciation on WDV year on year 15%. That is option one. तो फिर आप GST कुछ क्लेम कर सकते हो क्या? You cannot claim because you have claimed depreciation on the value of the GST as well. So you cannot claim depreciation. You cannot claim the GST because you have claimed the depreciation benefit. That is option one. Option two is claim depreciation on 1.5 lakhs. तो इसके ऊपर आपको WDV मिल जाएगा सेम 15% पे, बट ये कम रहेगा बिकॉज द वैल्यू इज 1.5 लाख. एंड GST ITC you can claim 27,000 rupees because on 27,000 rupees you have not claimed depreciation, so you can claim the input tax credit.
Okay, sir, understood. But usually depreciation is calculated only on the cost of the asset, no, sir? We will ignore GST while calculating depreciation, right?
If you want, you can include it. So there's no hard and fast rule. If you don't want to claim ITC or ITC is not available to you, there you will capitalize it along with the GST component.
Oh, okay, understood, sir.
Yes, Tanya.
सर मेरा डाउट ये है, डेप्रिसिएशन हम सेम असेट पे नंबर ऑफ इयर्स तक लगाते हैं,
करेक्ट.
तो हर साल वो क्लेम कर सकते हैं क्या डेप्रिसिएशन?
वो इनकम टैक्स का क्वेश्चन है, बट आपको क्या लगता है, आपने इनकम टैक्स पढ़ लिया है ना?
सर अभी पूरा नहीं पढ़ा है.
बट डेप्रिसिएशन तो आपको हर साल मिलेगा, नॉट ओनली फर्स्ट ईयर. डेप्रिसिएशन का मतलब ही है यूजफुल लाइफ ऑफ द असेट जब तक होता है तब आप डेप्रिसिएशन क्लेम कर सकते हो.
यस सर. ओके सर. मतलब उस टाइम पे इस सेम असेट पे हम हर साल डेप्रिसिएशन क्लेम करेंगे बट जीएसटी नहीं मिलेगा.
GST आपको तो एक ही बार मिलेगा ना, आपने एक बार यहाँ पे क्लेम कर लिया है.
ठीक है सर।
Okay. Any other questions? Because I think we have reached the time. We'll go to section 17 in the next session and we will discuss it. But section 16, we are happy that we are covered all the conditions of 16.1 and 16.2, 16.3, 16.4 also. What is the due date of filing GSTR 3B? By the 20th of the subsequent month. Except few states, they have said 22, but mostly major states it is 20th itself.
Sir, good evening.
Yes, good evening.
कंडीशंस वाला थोड़ा बता देंगे फिर से. कंडीशन
One.
6.
Condition 6, sixth condition, okay.
कंडीशन नंबर 6.
Okay. सिक्स्थ कंडीशन ये बोलता है कि आपको क्रेडिट क्लेम करना है तो आपको रिटर्न फाइल करना है. तो क्रेडिट आपको कैसे पास ऑन होगा? क्रेडिट ऐसे, ये वाला कंडीशन होगा. कंडीशन 6 इज फाइलिंग ऑफ द रिटर्न बाय द पर्सन क्लेमिंग द क्रेडिट. 16(2)(d) बोलता है दैट फाइल योर रिटर्न्स. सो आपको क्रेडिट चाहिए तो फिर आपको सिर्फ क्या करना पड़ेगा? GSTR 2B वगैरह दूसरे कंडीशन है, आपको ये GSTR 3B फाइल करना पड़ेगा. अगर आप GSTR 3B फाइल कर लोगे तो फिर आपको क्रेडिट मिल जाएगा. दैट इज व्हाट सिक्स्थ कंडीशन इज सेइंग. मान लीजिए आपने पूरे 5 कंडीशन फुलफिल कर लिए लेकिन रिटर्न फाइल नहीं किया तो फिर आपको क्रेडिट नहीं मिलेगा.
थैंक यू सर.
Time limit to claim ITC, Ajay Surya, the time limit to claim ITC as we had discussed is 30th November or due date of filing return, whichever is earlier. Okay. So we'll see in the next class and discuss further on the ITC. Yes, sir.